Hello, everybody. I am here to discuss our aerobic slash anaerobic progressions through this first phase. Um, we are going to do workouts based on heart rate. So I heavily recommend you getting a heart rate monitor. If you don't have a heart rate monitor and you can't get your hands on one, I will discuss, how you can do it without a heart rate monitor. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But right now, I'm just going to go into our steady state progression, which is our first aerobic workout of this phase, starting tomorrow. And I'm just going to share my screen quickly and show you the steady state that we're going to do tomorrow, which is progression 1. The first thing you need to know about this is the description of the session. We want to get our heart rate up to lactate threshold, and we'll discuss the lactate threshold later. But the first thing that you're going to do, and this can be running, it can be biking, you can do it hiking. The most effective way is on a bike, probably, or that's the most consistent. I actually like to run myself, but you can choose whatever mode that you want. So the warm up, you're going to go 5 minutes easy at an A1 heart rate, and we'll discuss that. And then you move into 2 minutes moderate, 1 minute steady, so at your lactate threshold or just a little bit below that. And then you go to 2 minutes easy. So that's your warm up. It's about 10 minutes. And then once you're warmed up, you move into your workout and you do basically 2 sets of 10 minutes. So you do 10 minutes at your lactate threshold heart rate. And then once you're done with that 10 minutes, you recover back to your A1 heart rate. And then you go at that A1 heart rate for about 10 minutes. You rest for 10 minutes. And then after that, you go right back up to your lactate threshold and go for another 10 minutes at lactate threshold or just below that. You want to just make sure it's 10 minutes sustainable work. It's hard, but it's sustainable. You can do it no problem for 10 minutes. And then you are done, and then you do a cool down, 10 minutes easy at your A1 heart rate. Okay, so that's your workout. Now quickly, we're just going to discuss our heart rate zones. And it says A1 heart rate. I made a quick little illustration here. Your resting heart rate, that's what you are when you wake up in the morning. Or if you are, if you're just sedentary, you're sitting around, you should be somewhere between 50 and 75. If you're above 75, it might be a little much. Maybe have some underlying health issues. I don't know. But 65 is a pretty normal number for resting heart rate. And then as you move up, right around I would say 110 to 130. I mean, if you just walk around your house, you'll probably get to 100 or so. So once you get to 110 to 130, you're starting to breathe a little bit. But it's pretty easy. You can go forever at your A1 heart rate. You could probably even jog, slowly and still be right around that 120, 130 zone. And then as you move past around 130, you get into A2, which is your moderate zone. And that's when you start to sweat, you're breathing, but you can really go for a long time in your A2 heart rate. That's kind of where you want to be if you're doing a marathon, if you're doing anything long distance. And once you hit 150, or around there, it could be anywhere between 150 and 170. It could be less, it could be more. It's very, it's individual. And I have this set up here. That's your doorway. We call it the lactate threshold because this is where you pass through the threshold. The threshold is the base of a door. Okay, so your lactate threshold, you're actually moving through that door, and that's at 4 millimoles of lactate in your blood. When you pass through 4 millimoles of lactate, you pass through your threshold. And that means in this area, you're in an anaerobic state, an anaerobic lactate state, okay? And if you pass through this and you continue to do the same workload or more, then you very quickly move up in your heart rate and your lactate in your blood, and you only have a few minutes before you're done. Okay, so all the way up, so your max heart rate is 220 minus your age usually. So most of you are right around 200 to 205 in your max heart rate. So anywhere between 170 and 200 or so is an anaerobic zone where you can't last very long. Usually, if you get up to here, you have to come back to here to recover before you go back up to there. But the steady state, this is your steady state. We want to focus on this. And so once you find your threshold, and your threshold is basically, once you pass through here, you have a very difficult time talking. So if you can run or bike and talk and have a conversation, you're in here in A2. Once you can't talk anymore, you're panting too hard to be able to talk, then you most likely come through the threshold. Okay, so pay attention to what your heart rate is at this point and back it down a little bit, because you want to be in your steady state. This is a sustainable area where you can go for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. But it's important that you stay under your threshold heart rate and you get used to this. We will move on to a lactate threshold workout where we're doing more intervals and moving up and down. And that's later in the week. But for tomorrow, we're going to do our steady state. And we're going to be somewhere in the range of 150 for me, probably, maybe 160 for some of you, or almost 170 for some. It just depends, and you got to figure that out on your own right now until we can do a lactate blood test to figure out where you get to 4 millimoles of lactate in your blood. Okay, so we're going to stick with tomorrow. We're doing our steady state, 2 sets of 10 minutes, and in between you do a 10-minute break where you're down your A1, and then you go back up for another 10 minutes at your steady state, and then you do a nice little like 10-minute cool down. Okay, so that's for tomorrow, and I'll get on and do another recording to talk about the lactate threshold workout on Friday. All right, thanks.